Hey folks, I know it's been a while since I did a video that didn't pertain to music, and there's a reason behind that. I don't make videos just for the sake of making a video. Uh, when I come across something that I think will be of interest to y'all, then I post something. Here lately, I've really been doing a lot of brushing up on what the Fabian Socialist Society is all about. The Fabians were created back in the 1900s, early 1900s in England, and it's named after Quintus Maximus Fabius, who defeated Hannibal in 200 years before Christ was born. And he was basically the author of guerrilla warfare. He would attack the supply lines, attack them under the cover of night, uh, only war with Hannibal under his terms, and it became a war of attrition. And eventually, Fabius won the war, was able to defeat Hannibal. Well, the Fabian Socialists adopted that model, and one of their symbols is a tortoise, because slow plotting will eventually get the job done. And their coat of arms was that of a wolf in sheep's clothing. They got rid of it because it became pretty blatantly obvious as to what their coat of arms stood for, which was come in like you're innocent and you just want to help society, but you're really a wolf. You're a carnivore that wants to devour people. They only want two classes: the very elite and the poor, because the poor are easier to control. They leave less of a carbon footprint. They are one of the authors of social justice, going back to the early 1900s, and they are also the authors of this global warming scam, which is just another way of redistributing wealth. Anyway, the charitable foundations of the Carnegie, Fords, and Rockefellers, they started the London School of Economics, and John Maynard Keynes was, he's the author of Keynesian economics, where you just get the central bank to print as much money as possible, dump it into the system, and that's how you can maintain a good economic balance. And then when times go good, then you're supposed to cut spending and borrowing, but it never works out the way. They just the Federal Reserve prints money out of thin air, charges us interest, and the politicians, it's easier for them to spend money than it is to actually balance the budget. That's just the way it is. But the Fabian Socialists, their movement is basically the Labour Party in England. And in 1980, at a secret caucus in Washington, D.C., and I know this from Dr. John Coleman, who wrote the book Committee of 300, even said this, that at a secret caucus in Washington, D.C. in 1980, after Jimmy Carter lost so massively to Reagan, they adopted the old socialist model of the 1930s. Now, I don't know if you guys if you've ever read a history book that talked about how huge socialism was in the 1930s. It was a huge movement, and FDR, big time socialist, and the New Deal. The only way that people say, well, where did FDR get all this money to fund all these projects? Well, when in 1933, when our government, which is a corporate entity, went bankrupt, everybody had to turn in their real money, which is gold. Gold and silver has an intrinsic value. So under the penalty of 5 years in jail and a $10,000 fine, everybody turned in their gold, which is allegedly in Fort Knox, but I wouldn't bet so much as a fly's fart off a bald butcher's wig about that being there. But be that as it may, since the bankers got the gold, the real money, our labor was pledged as surety against the debt. So they agreed, the Federal Reserve, which was supposed to be a lender of last resort, started basically printing all this funny money, fiat currency, not backed by anything, but the good faith and credit of the American people, which our labor is the one that moves their currency. So that's one big way that the Fabian Socialists, the communists, got their foot in the door. They're also big on socialized medicine. They believe that people that take more out of the system than what they put into it are useless. We're useless eaters. They were eugenicists. Margaret Sanger was a Fabian Socialist. Started Planned Parenthood. Bertrand Russell, one of the elites. H.G. Wells, I'm sure you guys know, he did the War of the Worlds. And George Bernard Shaw, famous writer. They were all Fabian Socialists, and they all were into eugenics, and they believed that they believed in collectivism, and puts everybody. The thing is about communists and the ones that want to control it is that they're not pissed off that people have it so bad as they are. They're pissed off that some people have it too good. As long as they're the ones that are running it. I mean, it's okay if they're doing good, but they believe that they know what's best for all of us. So anyway, I'm looking up some notes here. John Maynard Keynes came up with this plan that the government borrows money in good times and then in bad times, and then it's supposed to cut spending in good times. But the thing is, he was a Bolshevik. He's even admitted that he was. People even on the right claim that John Maynard Keynes saved capitalism. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. We don't have real capitalism. We have what is known as crony capitalism, because the government owns the majority stock in every Fortune 500 company and their subsidiaries. They have two sets of books. They have to fill out a comprehensive annual financial report where they have to, their liabilities, what they owe, and what they actually have. I was shocked to find out that Houston, Texas, Inc. I went on Dun and Bradstreet. They could actually, just with their liquid assets, they could run that city for 17 years, pay their pensions that they owe to their city employees, and pay all the other bills, and not collect one dime in property tax. And that's just with their liquid assets. That doesn't even count the stocks they hold, or the apartment buildings, the racetracks they own. I mean, they are sitting on a ton of assets. But yet, every year they come with us with their pockets out like, oh, we're broke. They got two sets of books. It would be akin to me when I was married to tell my wife, hey, you got $2,000 to spend. This is what I make. But actually I'm making $4,000 a month. So I'm sucking that $2,000 away and I'm investing it. But I'm telling my wife, all we've got is $2,000 to pay rent, buy food, pay utilities. And if she goes over the budget, well, we're gonna have to borrow and make up for it somewhere down the line. But in the meantime, I'm socking away $2,000. That's what our government is doing. Every city, every county, and every state is incorporated, and the headquarters is in Washington, D.C. Almost every town is incorporated, and the few that are not, they're a great place to live. I know I lived in Rolling Prairie, Indiana. It wasn't incorporated, and the law enforcement there, they weren't trying to get people setting up speed traps so that they could bring in revenue. It was totally different atmosphere. But when I told people that our government is a corporate entity, they would say, "Well, no, it's not." And then I would show them the proof, and then they would say, "Okay, well, so what? So what if it's incorporated? Why does it matter?" Because when you incorporate something, you take it from the jurisdiction of the land and you put it under what is known as statutory law or admiralty law brought upon the land. And this is all facts and data. You think the gold fringe flag when you enter a courtroom is by accident? There's a reason that gold fringe is on there, because you're in an admiralty court. Try bringing up the Constitution to a judge if you're there for a speeding ticket or for whatever, and he'll fine you. He'll give you a contempt of court charge. Anyway, to get back to the Fabian Socialists, there's been creeping socialism that's been basically started with FDR, but it's just gotten worse. I mean, it continues on. And right now, in my honest opinion, we're under a communist coup. There's no way that Joe Biden got 81 million votes. I mean, the guy couldn't even poll 1% when he ran for president the other 3 times. The guy couldn't lead a pack of starving dogs to fresh meat with the blood of the kills dripping from his sleeves. That is how uninspiring he is. The guy's a human gaff machine. But yet, we are to believe that he got almost 15 million more votes than Obama did in 2008, and almost 17 million more than Obama got in 2012. And if Trump was so unpopular, how did he get 10 million more votes, at least the votes that were counted? How did he get 10 million more votes than he did in 2016? And people were so disenchanted. Don't even get me started on the election. It was a fraud from top to bottom. I work in the mailing industry, okay? Mail-in ballots are tri-folded. They're folded 3 times, stuffed into an envelope. I saw video of mail-in ballots with sheets that were not folded at all, just whipping them through the tabulator over and over again. That's just one, and don't even get me started on the electronic voting machines where they had a USB port where they could put in like a Verizon wireless card. So the election was totally rigged. But what I'm trying to say now, we are under a soft communist coup. All right, and they're using this COVID-19 pandemic to make people comply, make them take the vaccine, or they're going to be shunned. And anybody that speaks out against this communist coup, now we're now being called terrorists. There are anchors on MSNBC, CNN, that are claiming that that people like me that are constitutionalists, people that believe Trump was cheated out of his place, we're as bad as the Taliban. So we went from being Nazis to now being members of a terrorist group like the Taliban. And you can't even make this crap up. So, I'm going to be getting back to you guys more. Look up Gary Allen and look up just type in Fabian Socialism, Gary Allen, and he does like an hour and 13-minute interview. And the guy was spot on. This is from 1973. So, I mean, what we see today was predicted a long time ago if we didn't change the course. Anyway, that's all I got for right now. So, anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thank y'all for listening. I don't do this because I want to do it. It's just something that I've been tasked with. And I got to stand before my maker one day. And he said, well, what did you do with the gifts and knowledge that I allowed you to attain and discern? And I want to be able to say I did the best I could with what I had. And I know I'm not a great speaker, so I don't suffer from any delusions of grandeur. So anyway, again, I appreciate you guys, and you guys have a great night.